The Sonic movies are among some of the best ever made when it comes to video game-inspired movies. That you already know, but did you know about the absurd, record-breaking amount of villains that will be showing up in the fourth movie of the fastest hedgehog in our dimension? Emperor Robotnik. We all saw with our own eyes Dr. Eggman saying goodbye to the whole world through an emotional broadcast and then saving everyone by sacrificing himself. And after that, there is absolutely no doubt that this Robotnik is no longer alive. However, that doesn't mean he was the only Robotnik in the multiverse. That's because there are probably others besides him living in other dimensions who have the exact same goal: to use Sonic's speed energy to take over the world. And believe it or not, everything points to one of them managing to do exactly that in his own world. He defeated the Blue Blur for good with his biggest and most powerful invention, the robot known as Metal Sonic. Or better yet, several robots called Metal Sonic, which were the exact same ones we saw showing up in the post-credit scene of the third movie. And it was probably him who sent the Metal Sonic platoon to put an end to our hero, who ended up getting out of it totally unharmed thanks to the intervention of Amy Rose, who also came from the same dimension as the villain. Emperor Robotnik is for sure the cruelest and darkest version of Dr. Eggman that exists in the Sonic lore, and he won't rest until he does the exact same thing in our reality that he did in his. Take Sonic's life, and then jumpstart the robotization process, where he uses an irreversible high-tech torture chamber to strip away the free will of every single citizen on Earth. Sonic's brother. If you're not a die-hard fan of the Sonic franchise, you probably wouldn't know that our chili dog-loving blue hedgehog has not one, but two siblings, Manic and Sonia. The two of them are characters from the animated series called Sonic Underground, released in 1999. Which takes place on our protagonist's home planet, called Mobius. And in this storyline, which could very well serve as the foundation for the fourth movie in the Sonic franchise, the Blue Blur is the son of Queen Alina and has these two other twin siblings. After Robotnik stages a coup d'etat in the kingdom, he puts a bounty on whoever hands over the three little hedgehogs to him, as they are the rightful heirs to the throne and could threaten him in the future. To protect her kids, the queen flees and leaves each of them at the doorstep of a house so they can be raised by other families and stay safe. However, when he was abandoned by his mother, Manic's basket was stolen, even though the thief didn't know it only contained a baby, and taken to the boss of the thieves, Feral, who trained Manic as a pickpocket in the sewers and streets of Robotropolis. This put Manic in the most humble position among the siblings, since Sonic lived in a regular home, while Sonia lived like a princess. Despite this not happening in the cartoon, in Sonic 4 it is highly possible that Manic shows up as someone who hates Sonic because he had a tough and cruel life, while our hero was raised by Longclaw with love and care, and even received the power of super speed, and he got absolutely nothing. This would make him an easy target for manipulation by Emperor Robotnik, who would send him after Sonic, leading a brand new platoon of Metal Sonics to finish the job they couldn't get done thanks to Amy's intervention. It would be brother against brother. How intense is that?
There are some characters who aren't truly evil, but end up being villains in the Sonic movies, until they're convinced by the Hedgehog to join the good side. Just like what happened with Knuckles, and even with Shadow. And it looks like we're getting a third case of someone who is going to fight against Sonic in the fourth movie, who actually isn't evil. We're talking about the hedgehog from the future, named Silver. Super famous in the games, he will probably make his big screen debut in Sonic 4, where his origin story will be shown, and we'll discover that he came from an apocalyptic future, where an epic proportioned cataclysm simply wiped out practically all of human civilization. Tricked by the wicked Silver believes that all of that is Sonic's fault, and because of that, goes back in time to eliminate our hero, and that way, in his head, make his timeline go back to normal. Gifted with incredible telekinetic powers, Silver will arrive in Sonic 4, probably as the most powerful character our hero has ever had to face. And the worst part of it all? Despite being a villain, he isn't evil. And we can already picture how this is going to end, with an alliance between Super Sonic, Super Shadow, and Super Silver. Seriously, That's going to be so sick! Before we continue, just a quick heads up. If you also enjoy movies, series, and cartoons, click the subscribe button right now, alright? That Metal Sonic will be in the 4th movie is something we all know, since he showed up in the post-credit scenes of the 3rd Sonic feature film. What most movie fans don't know is that, despite being a creation of the villain Emperor Robotnik, the robot and his hive mind that connects thousands of machines that the Dr. Eggman from another dimension uses to rule his Earth with an iron fist, literally, has other much more ambitious plans that involve the total extermination of the human race. And behind this hive mind of evil machines is the character Emperor Metallix, who is nothing more, nothing less than the ultimate Metal Sonic. A gigantic and terrifying Metal Sonic model, sporting red and gold armor, who rules from a floating throne. He is the absolute leader of an army called the Brotherhood of Metallix, where his AI controls all the steel hedgehog models that were previously under the command of Emperor Robotnik. It's hard to say if this villain will play an active role in the 4th movie, or if he will just be part of another one of those incredible post-credits scenes from the Sonic movies. But the fact is that he'll show his face, and will be yet another enemy that Sonic will have to deal with, sooner or later. We talked just a little bit ago about how Silver will be manipulated by the demon named Metal, so we can already figure out that for sure the villain will make an appearance in the 4th movie, even though he will most likely only be the main villain of the 5th or 6th movie. Mephiles' origin already shows that he truly is evil incarnate, which turns him into the most sadistic, cold-hearted, and successful villain in the franchise since, to this day, he has been the only one who managed to, even if temporarily, take Sonic's life. He is the mind, the intelligence, and the conscious will of Solaris, an ancient god of the sun and time worshipped in the kingdom of Soliana. At a certain point, a government experiment was carried out, the Solaris Project, that tried to control the god's power, but it resulted in a catastrophic disaster. The experiment failed and split Solaris into 2 separate entities: Iblis, who represented brute force and fiery destruction, and Mep, the cold and calculating mind. And his plan is for Sonic to die so that his other half, Iblis, a fiery flame creature, can be set free, and he can become whole once again. That way, he will be able to do whatever he wants, which isn't taking over the world like Eggman or Metal Sonic, but rather wiping it from existence completely. Now that is what you call a terrifying villain, wouldn't you agree?
Alright, now let's talk about a possibility that is simply mind-blowing. What if, in reality, the villain of the 4th Sonic movie is the person that everyone least expects? If that actually comes true, there is no other name that would fill that role and bring us more of a surprise than Amy Rose. That's because, from what we saw in Sonic 3, she will for sure introduce herself as an ally and, probably, came to our world to ask for Sonic's help to try and solve the problems in the Pink Hedgehog's dimension using his super speed energy. The problem is that Sonic is probably going to be torn because he will need to leave his family behind. And because of that, he's not sure if he should go to Amy's dimension to solve her problems. That's right where we'll see the true face of the character, who will put the salvation of everyone she knows in her dimension above the affection she feels for Sonic. She will then try to sacrifice Sonic in an attempt to channel his energy into her own body and hammer so she can manage to defeat the Emperor Robotnik of her dimension once and for all. This way, since she is planning on wiping Sonic off the face of existence, we can certainly say that she's going to be a villain in the next movie, even if she has righteous motives in her own head to try and do what she intends. Black Doom. Even though Sonic is the main character of the franchise that bears his name, anyone who follows the Blue Blur's games knows perfectly well that he isn't the only one who fights bad guys in the games, and it'll likely be like that in the movies too. That's because our hero often shares this burden with the character who is just as powerful as he is, Shadow. And that is exactly why we are so sure that in Sonic 4, we will get the arc where we see the Dark Hedgehog facing off against the biggest enemies that planet Earth and GUN have ever had to face.
the dark alien race called the Black Arms. The aliens' plan is pretty simple, to tell you the truth. They just want to teleport their massive biological spaceship, the entire Black Comet, straight to the surface of the Earth. Once landed, the comet would release a paralyzing gas into the planet's atmosphere, immobilizing all humans, and humanity would be kept alive, but turned into livestock, serving as an endless supply of food and vital energy for the Black Arms. No big deal, right? Behind this whole evil scheme is Black Doom, who acts as a hive mind channeler and commands all the other aliens to fight against GUN and try to take over the Earth. But that's where Shadow comes in, and as we know, he isn't much of a talker, but he definitely packs a heavy punch.
We've reached the end of this video, but if you like having your mind blown, this is the right place. That's why we left 2 really good videos for you to click, watch, and best of all, stay with us.